Hey, good evening. This is David Knapp here to share with you one of my favorite nymph patterns for fishing in the Smokies, especially if I'm hunting for big fish. Gonna be using some weight to make this fly get down. We use some lead-free wire, 0.025 diameter. I'm gonna go with a pretty good number of wraps. We'll probably do about 14, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And got my extra fancy scissors that I saved just for things like wire and hair that I don't mind if they get dull. And gonna work that wire around, make sure it folds into the hook. I keep a pair of needle nose pliers on hand, and you can even use them to help get the wire set down against the hook, get those sharp ends tucked in there. There we go. Just using some basic tan 6/0. A lot of people like using a darker thread like brown or black, but tan works pretty good for me. I'm tying this in with a fairly long tag end, and you'll see what I like to do with that. Anytime I'm tying with wire as weight in the underbody, I don't want my thread wraps to get between those wire wraps and separate them. So I'm going to take that tag in and just real loosely palmer that thread across it. And then I'm going to come back the other way. And all that tag end's doing is just creating a layer to help keep that thread from getting down in between those wraps of wire. And I'm just going to kind of work it back and forth. Take that tag in once, twice more. I should use it up. And I don't have to completely cover the wire at this point. I've just got enough to get it kind of secured there. You can see I've got my wire body built up there, and I'm ready to tie in the tail. I'm just using some hackle fibers. You can use brown, black. This is kind of my variation or version of the well-known Blackburn Tellico, and Tellico Nymph probably imitates a stonefly nymph better than just about anything I can think of. You see I've tied in that tail, and you want that tail to be about 1.5 times the width of the hook gap for the length of the tail. And if you're going to make a mistake, probably it's better to err on the shorter side. Stoneflies don't have super long tails, generally speaking. So just go back and forth, make sure all the butts of those hackle tips or hackle fibers are covered up. Ready to tie in a couple of things. So the back of this fly is going to be turkey tail, and you can see I've got a well-used piece, tied a lot of Tellico Nymphs with that one. And I'm going to go ahead and tie that in with the kind of dull side. If you look at a turkey tail, there's kind of the front side, the nice side when that turkey's fanned out, and then there's the back side, which is a little bit more dull. And we're going to tie this in by the tips, which I've clipped a little short. I don't want them all the way to the tips, but tied in by the end there where you've clipped it, with the dull side facing up and the turkey tail facing back. And that one got away from me. It looks like I might have split that. I'm going to try to regather it all and hope for the best. We'll see what happens. And I also have some Peacock Curl. These are a little bit shorter pieces because I've already used them for one Tellico. If you're lucky and you have really good quality Peacock Curl, you can see I've got some nice real long pieces. You can usually get a couple of Tellicos out, and when you get your Peacock Curl and you're prepping it to tie in, kind of grab the ends and pull, because a lot of times Peacock Curl is fairly fragile and you don't want to get it tied in there and just have it bust off on you and you're ready to go. I'm ready to dub this body. I'm using a Life Cycles in a stonefly yellow. Golden stonefly in Life Cycle dubbing is probably even better, as it was more or less designed for this fly, but I personally like tying it with just the regular stonefly yellow. So I'm gonna do something a little bit different at this point. A lot of people would have tied in a piece of thread or something to the back to help reinforce everything. I'm not doing that, and I'm also coming to the front to start dubbing. We're gonna dub from front to back, and you'll see why here in just a minute. Get a real generous clump of dubbing because we're gonna go through more than you think you're gonna need. And start out a little bit thinner and then get thicker as you work towards the middle of the body of this fly. We'll start with that and work that in there. Let's see. There you go. You can see how that body gets thicker in the middle, and we're going to try to keep it thicker by dubbing bigger clumps there in the middle. And as we get towards the back, we're going to start slowly tapering, and to do that, we're just going to go just a little thinner as we get closer to the back. So keep it a little thick for the first little bit, and then taper off towards something a little thinner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like that one was just about right. So you can see I'm back here, back to the back of the fly again, and that dubbing is just about glowing in our lighting here. I promise you that dubbing is not as light as what it looks like here in the video. I'm gonna pull my thread out so it's coming out about the same spot as my peacock curl. I'm just take that peacock curl and just wrap it gently around the thread. And that should do it. And I'm just going to use the rotary feature on my vise to help make this look nice and even. And we're just going to keep that angle and roll that all the way to the front. And right there, what you can do is you can just kind of let go of that peacock curl at this point once you get it to the front and pull on it. Wrap once, twice, just to make sure it's secure. That will do a really nice job of reinforcing your peacock curl so it doesn't bust apart. That's one weak point of this fly. At this point, we're getting close to being done. I've got a brown hackle fiber. This is off, I think they call these a Chinese rooster neck. Just cheap brown hackle. It doesn't really matter. You don't want anything too nice quality. Don't use your dry fly hackle, for example. You don't want it to be real sharp, and you want it kind of soft and webby so it moves real well in the water. These are the legs, so to speak. We're going to tie them in. I'm kind of prepping my hackle by stroking some of those fibers back, getting the tip right there. I don't want to get too close to tip because I don't want to tie it in and have it break on me. It's something that's always risky with hackle. I'm going to kind of leave a little triangle of fibers. That's going to be something to tie in on. And I'm going to tie it in about, it's probably about 1/3 of the way back, maybe 1/4 of the way back from the hook eye. And I'm just going to wrap that back to the front of the hook and kind of palmer it. You don't want these wraps right up next to each other. Should take 3 or 4 wraps to get this done. I usually try to get in about 3, and then catch that with your thread and cut it off. At this point, a lot of people just pull the back over, and that's fine. I don't like the way it unevenly collects hackle fibers, so I take an extra step here and I just trim the hackle on top where that shell back of turkey is going to lay in there. And like I said, this is personal preference. Don't have to do that step, but I think it looks nice. The one thing, if you're going to do this, I will warn you, you do need to cut those hackle fibers short, otherwise they're going to punch through your turkey tail section and have it really sticking out kind of funny. This part, we're going to see if my turkey tail is going to actually work. Remember, I kind of lost some of those fibers, and looks like I got lucky. It's going to lay in there real nice. You can see I have it rotated so you can see what the top should look like. I'm going to lay that hackle fiber, or that turkey tail, right over the top of those cut hackle fibers, and one loose wrap just to make sure you got it where you want. At this point, with it loose, you can grab this in and kind of work that back and forth just to get it where you want. It looks good though. I'm gonna give it just a little snug tug there. 3 wraps, and that's not going anywhere. And cut it. And at this point, I'm gonna kind of just stroke all those fibers towards the back from the hackle just to make sure I've got them all where I want them. Give a couple more wraps and get in a real good half hitch just to make sure I'm holding everything. Right here, this part probably doesn't matter a whole lot. You can see I used a light colored thread, and the main reason is I don't want something dark bleeding through my body, making that nice bright yellow dull. So I use, you know, yellow, tan, whatever light color thread I happen to have threaded into a bobbin at the time I'm tying these. And tonight it was tan. So I do like a dark head though. So I've just got a Sharpie sitting here. You can use a Prismacolor marking pen, and I've got those. Dark brown works real good. But I've got the Sharpie sitting here. I'm just going to take it, mark, I don't know, 3 inches or so of my thread, and then I'm going to whip finish. And as I whip finish, I'm going to make sure that I'm covering all of my light tan head that I've already created. And voila, I have a nice black head all of a sudden. That fly is done. You can call it right now. There's a top view. You can see that nice turkey tail shell back laying in there. Bottom view, you can see all those nice spiky, soft hackle fibers looking like legs. One thing that I like to do is I like to reinforce that shell back, and you can use a lot of things. You can use good old Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. I've also got a Sally Hansen's Double Duty that's supposed to be a base and a top coat, I guess, if you're into doing your nails, whatever that means, right? Also really like this UV clear fly finish from Loon. And I've been using it lately to finish the shell back on this fly. And basically I'm going to get my white ready and get in there and do just a little at a time. I'll do just a little bit, let it soak in, and then set it. Do a little bit, let it soak in, set it. Do a little, let it soak in. Use that light to set it. And if you just kind of keep building it up slowly but surely, your shell back can go from probably the weakest point of the fly to possibly the strongest. I'll do just a little bit on the head there. And we're done. That's a fly that's going to catch a ton of fish, and you definitely want to have that pattern in your fly box if you're fishing in the Smokies, especially if you're hunting big fish. But really just if you're going to be fishing in the Smokies, Tellico River, any of these southern Appalachian streams, they're full of stonefly nymphs, especially golden stones and yellow sallies and other stoneflies. And the fish really are always looking for a big meal, and a stonefly definitely fits the bill. So try it out. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.